Good morning from Sherry Forsyth, Peak Performance Coach, and we're continuing with our series on different health-related issues, but particularly health issues that you can't really see. So people are walking around, they're actually feeling really sick or in a lot of pain or having no energy or whatever the specific symptoms are of your disease. But because people don't look ill, other people out there just assume that they're fine. And it makes it very difficult for the person who is actually suffering because they don't want to come across as being, kind of in the victim mode or pathetic. When they say, oh, my body's so sore, or, I can't really walk up those stairs. And it sounds to other people as if you're making excuses. So that is why one of the main reasons why I've embarked upon this series on health, where I'm interviewing people who are battling themselves with various health issues, but also interviewing health professionals that can possibly shed some light on the whole story. So today I welcome Sharl from, also in Hilton, Sharl Sclanders, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story, what she suffers with, what the challenges are. And so the whole goal is to get word out there and maybe be able to give other people a little bit of hope. And so, as always, we welcome your comments that you can add to the comment box if you're watching this through Facebook. If you're watching through other social media, then I welcome you to drop an email. And if you have questions for Sharl, I will happily forward those on. So my email address is sherryforsyth@gmail.com. Or you can go to my website and leave comments there, which is www.sherryforsythcoaching.com. with Sherry spelled CHERRI and Forsyth FORSYTH. So, having got that all out of the way, we can start with our interview. So, Sharl, the first question I want to ask you is, what is the name of your illness, and what is it actually, as far as you know?
Okay, I suffer with fibromyalgia, and they've determined that I've got a specialized fibromyalgia that doesn't react to medication. And from the long process of having this fibromyalgia, people have been investigating what it is, and most people don't know. Some people say it's an autoimmune disease. Some people say that it's a musculoskeletal disease. Some people say that it started in the hands, the nerves in the hands. The latest research is showing that it's a central nervous system disorder. And whereas normal people, your peripheral, when you get pain, your peripheral nerves get irritated. But in fibromyalgia, there's a complete dysfunction where your brain makes too much glutamate and histamine. Mm-hmm. And this affects the hypotenuse gland in your head, and where all the pain and that is stimulated from. So what happens is that you get an overreaction of pain, and it's widespread because it affects the brain, not only the brain, the spinal cord, and from there it goes everywhere. And so it seems like there is more research being done. There is no cure for now. And the Americans have said that they've got a blood test that can determine if you have fibromyalgia, and also a PET and MRI combined scan, which actually shows that a person with fibromyalgia has different things happening in their brain to a normal person.
As far as the chemicals are concerned.
Yes, and the chemicals and the reaction to different things.
Okay.
I look at it as being it's not a life-threatening disease, but it is definitely a life-changing disease. It's a cruel disease to have because you look fine.
Mm.
And you have very few people in your life that will look at you and know that you're in pain. And the pain varies and it moves. And in one day I can have pain that starts in my head, ends in my feet, or I have pain all over that I can't cope. So it's a very cruel disease, and so much so that the pain becomes unbearable. And when I say it's not a life-threatening disease, a lot of people commit suicide because the pain is so excruciating. And that's the only way that they can find an out.
So can I just stick with the pain for a minute? When you say pain, what kind of pain? Is it muscular? Is it joint? Is it acute? Is it dull pain?
It's kind of all those things. It's kind of all of those things all together, because your joints do hurt, but it's not arthritis. Your muscles hurt, but it's actually just like my good days are I've got an ache all over. I have an ache in my head and my body is aching. And those are my good days. My bad days, I can't even get out of bed. I can't walk. So the pain is, it's a different kind of pain. I think I'd rather have another baby.
Okay, that says a lot.
It's a completely different kind of pain than just feeling a pain when you've broken an arm or a leg, because it's continuous and it's chronic. And because nobody knows what to do with it.
So when I know that you have odd little stays in the hospital, is that mainly for pain relief, or is it investigative?
Well, I've landed up in hospital quite a few times with pain, where I actually have pain seizures, where nothing helps and they have to put me in hospital and they've got to put me on medication. But the biggest thing is when you go to hospital, which I've said to my husband I don't want to do again, they don't know what to do with you. Because most of the nursing staff have never heard about it. And I think that's just, it comes with a lot of these kind of diseases. And a lot of doctors don't know how to treat you. And so what they'll do is they'll put you on a Panado drip and they think that's going to help. Whereas I've now found a doctor in Hillcrest that he knows that the medication he's got to give me is what he would give a burly big 6 meter high, 1 foot 8 meter high person that's a big burly rugby player, and I might not even respond to that medication. So he knows that you can't just give me a Panado drip and my pain is going to go. The last time I was in hospital was with a new symptom that I've developed, in that I had extremely huge bloating. I looked like I was 7 months pregnant and I was in so much pain. So the doctor here in Marisburg or Hilton, a specialist, he did a whole lot of tests and referred me to a specialist at Hillcrest. So I spent 2 weeks in Hillcrest Hospital and they did all kinds of stuff on me. And I think that is the most disheartening thing, because everything comes back normal. And it's disheartening, but it's also a good thing. So it's like you're in a quandary, but you really want them to find something that they can do to help you. But everything comes back normal.
And if I can just interrupt for a minute there, I think that's where a lot of people who don't suffer from any of the sort of silent illnesses are very judgmental, and they just say, oh, well, it must all be all in your head.
Absolutely.
It's totally psychotic. In fact, there's nothing really wrong with you. Look at the blood tests and look at all, there's nothing wrong with you. And that is incredibly difficult to live.
Absolutely. Especially when they say to you, we think you need to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And you've been through that route, because that's what doctors say to you. It's all in your head. The depression is causing it, whereas your depression is caused by the pain.
Exactly.
So it's the other way around to how doctors see it. A lot of doctors don't even, you say they've got fibromyalgia, and they look at you as if to say that isn't a disease. They don't even contemplate that it is a disease. So,
like as if you would choose to live the way you're living.
Exactly.
Because you actually want to be living.
And you end up losing a lot of friends too, because they don't know. I mean, you look fine on the outside, and they'll invite you to a place or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have a fibro flare and you can't get out of bed, so you have to cancel. And I think all these cancelled things, they basically throw their hands up and they say, well, we won't even invite you anymore. So it's a really incredibly lonely disease to have.
I can agree with you. Having been a sports lady myself, and then suffering from chronic fatigue, we belonged to a tennis group that used to play every week in the evenings, and I couldn't play because I didn't have the energy. And these were my friends, and various comments would come out about, you're just lazy, and the sick, lame, and lazy, and kind of intimating that I didn't want to play tennis because maybe I wasn't good enough. Actually, my husband and I were both in the first team at school, though. Anyway, so and initially you take that comment, and you take them, and you take them, and after quite a long time, I said to my husband, let's arrive just 5 minutes earlier. And let's just hit up, you and me. I can't hit for long, but I want to be showing them that I can wipe them off the court. When I'm strong.
Absolutely.
Just to kind of the frustration that you must feel of just wanting to say, hey, actually, I'm not just.
It's not here.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
and don't be judging me, and don't be criticizing me. It's hard enough anyway.
Absolutely.
So the social aspect of losing friends, or the frustration of lack of understanding, is a very huge part of these silent illnesses, and completely overlooked by most people. Even compassionate doctors don't really understand the social implications.
Absolutely. My GP that's been treating me in Hilton here for most of my fibro, because all the physicians just threw up their hands. So she's been merrily going along trying to help me and discover new things and new pathways we can. And she sees me and she just starts crying now, because she just can't help me anymore. So so it's not anything that I would wish on anyone. And also what a lot of people don't realize is that they say, but we're hearing about so many people with fibromyalgia. And personally, I think a lot of people are being incorrectly diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and they could have something that is treatable, like polymyalgia, which is treatable. You go on a course of, it's like a cancer treatment thing, and it's over 6 weeks, and it can disappear. Arthritis, they say that they can help, the rheumatoid arthritis, they can help with certain medication and certain things like that. So what I do say to people who say they have fibromyalgia is just go through every avenue. Go for the MRIs, go for the blood tests. I mean, my files are like this with my doctors, 2 files. You can't just assume that when you start getting a new symptom that it is fibromyalgia. So this bloating that was new, I straight away went to the doctor because I was like 7 months pregnant. It was, and I was in agony, and none of my clothes fit me. I had to go and buy dresses and I was so embarrassed to go walking out there because like I've had a hysterectomy.
And like I'm of age not to be pregnant.
Absolutely. And so I mean, and now I've started developing a one where I used to get just on my arms and my legs. I used to just get like it was sore to wear clothing. Now my body's
like skin
yes.
sensitivity.
Now my body's on fire the whole time, so much so that it keeps me awake at night. I can't sleep, and I've got this constant feeling that my body is on fire. My feet are on fire. My hands are on fire, and you know, and then I straight away go to the computer and look up fibromyalgia and it'll come. Like after I had all these tests about fibromyalgia and bloating, I went on the internet and choose Bob. There's a picture of a lady that looked exactly like me, and it was fibromyalgia related. But you can't just say it is. And I think that is the horrible thing. You can't just go onto the internet and say, okay, it's a symptom of fibromyalgia and just leave it at that. You've got to investigate.
So what was your route to diagnosis? Was it quite immediate, or did it take a long time?
No, I think it took a long time. I had a burnout a year before I was diagnosed. And then I landed up in a hospital. And from the burnout, I kind of like didn't take time for myself. I'm a workaholic and a perfectionist. And this is the people like me is the ones that these kind of things attack. So I never used to take time out for myself. So I was working through that pain from the burnout because I was only off work for a week. And I pushed myself, and then I landed up in hospital and under a physician, and they diagnosed me with Coxsackie virus, 2 strains of it. But then he also picked up something in my blood that he wasn't happy about. He thought it was lupus. Then you've got to wait the 3 months, because within the 3 months, these things can disappear and your bloods could be normal. So I went for my blood test again, and it was still there. So then I was referred to a rheumatologist in Durban, and she diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And basically it was testing the points on your body, testing that it wasn't rheumatoid arthritis, and giving me a pamphlet and say, here you have fibromyalgia, go and read up on it.
Bye-bye.
Have a happy life. So that's how I was diagnosed. So it was like a kind of learning curve for me, because I had to do all my own research, and plus being in the pain where the brain fog is the worst thing. Things that I used to be able to do in an hour used to take me a whole day to do, and then I had a fibre flare the next day.
Because of the stress that you put your body under.
Absolutely. So with me, I think it was stress that caused my fibromyalgia. I think it was all stress related, because the way I react now to stress is I go into a complete fibre flare. And I used to be able to take stress. Stress was part of my life. I lived it every day, because I'm an accountant and I worked in a big firm where we were doing 7 spas, engines, 5 builders, all conglomerates together. And I was in charge of all of that.
So there are lots of deadlines with the accountancy field as well.
And then it got to a stage where I couldn't drive down to work anymore. So they used to bring the stuff up to me. And because it was all internet-based, I could go and I could do it. But then I just couldn't. I was working with paying millions of dollars out, and I just couldn't take that chance of making a mistake because my brain wasn't working. I couldn't concentrate, and I was putting just too much pressure on myself. So I had to go and say, I'm sorry, I can't work anymore, which was like the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because that's where I got my self-worth from.
Yeah, as most people actually do.
Yeah.
And also being that, it's that particular mindset, sort of the A-type personality that tends to be more prone to these kind of illnesses. So for somebody else, it might not be as difficult to say, I can't work anymore.
Yeah.
But for us,
it's terrible.
It's like, well, who am I now?
Absolutely.
Because you're losing your identity.
And it happened just when my sons got to the age where they were getting out of school and going on their own, and so I wasn't being the mom anymore.
Like a double whammy.
So it was kind of, it's been hard. I mean, it's been nearly 6 years now that I was officially diagnosed. I can't say it's got any easier. I've had a spate of like about 1.5 months that I've had what I call a good run. But otherwise, I'm continuing pain. My husband has been an absolute gem because he comes home from work and he works all day, and he's got to make all the money now because I'm not earning anything. And most of the time he has to come home and feed the dogs and cook because I'm in bed. I can't do it. I just physically can't do it. Just getting up in the mornings and showering and knowing that I've got to wash my hair is the hardest thing I have to do. And then
because of the pain
and the chronic fatigue.
Okay, so there's maybe I should ask you here. Other than the pain, what other symptoms do you suffer from?
Lots, but the main ones are the fibromyalgia, the chronic pain, chronic fatigue, IBS, which is the irritable bowel syndrome, the brain fog, where I don't even know how I'm actually being able to have this conversation with you right now.
You're doing brilliantly.
Because normally, like, especially when I'm in a group of people, and if I'm having a conversation and if I'm interrupted, then I'm finished. I can't hold the conversation. I lose my thought process. I just can't carry on. I have to say, sorry, I don't know what. Can you tell me what I was talking about? Because I can't remember.
Sure.
And sometimes it's really bad that I can't even have a one-on-one conversation because I lose words, and then I'm trying to find other words to fit in, and and the insomnia, not being able to sleep.
So that will exacerbate the chronic fatigue
and the pain.
Everything, actually.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, a little while ago, I was on Dorminoct, Stilnox, 100 milligrams of tretinoin just to sleep. And
those are big guns.
Yeah. And I mean, things could happen in the evening, like my son had a huge car accident and my husband got up and dealt with it all, and I never woke up. I never heard anything that was going on. And this doctor that I'm seeing in Hillcrest now says to me that I've been on the medication equivalent to what Michael Jackson was on, and that killed him. So basically, the medication I've been on, he said to me that one morning I won't wake up. So now he's had to cut.
That's exciting.
Very exciting. So now I've had to cut back on all my medication. So it's like starting off all over again, trying to find those things that will help me sleep. So at least 2-3 times a week I'm not sleeping the whole night, and it's the most frustrating thing.
And also quite a lonely,
extremely
when
lonely.
Everybody else is sleeping and you just think, how long is this night going to be?
Absolutely. And then if I do get to sleep, it might be like early morning, like 4 o'clock. I might have 1 or 2 hours where my body just says it's got to go to sleep. But then the whole day I'm awake and exhausted. But I try and lie down and I try and sleep, and I can't sleep. I can't read a book because I can't concentrate. I can't read a magazine because I can't concentrate. So basically I lie on my lounge and I watch television. And then my husband will come home and say, what did you do today? And I'll say, well, I watched Grey's Anatomy. He said, what happened? I said, I don't know. So yeah, it's
very systemic then, and it's very multi. What's the word I'm looking for?
Faceted. There's like over 200 symptoms for fibromyalgia.
And you won't suffer necessarily from all of them, or
no.
So, and they'll be different.
Yes, and everybody. This is what is so intriguing, is that everybody is different. What might work for somebody else is not going to work on me. like a lot of people, these epileptic medications like Lyrica, Neurotin, and those kind of things work on them. Now they don't work on me. In fact, they make me worse.
So I suppose because they don't know exactly what's causing it, they can't match the medication to. So really, they're just treating you symptomatically.
Yes, they are. You even start finding all these other things that doctors are doing. Like I was doing a little while, about 2 years ago, I started having these magnesium infusions that this doctor from Canada, he was a South African, but he was so frustrated because he wanted to do all this research on fibromyalgia. But in South Africa, they won't give any money to research. They will only all the research money is going into TB. So he moved to Canada so that he would have the freedom and wouldn't have to pay people basically to do the research. So he came across this thing, and you had to go on a whole lot of medication, and then every week have a magnesium infusion. So that is what I was doing. And then he came down, and he came to Roodepoort. So my husband took me there. And basically what he did is he gave me injections in all my sore points, everywhere. So I had lots of injections. And he was injecting me with lidocaine.
What is that?
It's like a numbing. It's like
okay.
a numbing
like a Botox?
Medicaid. I think so. It's like sometimes they will give it to you if they're going to just cut something out of you.
Okay, like a local anesthetic.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But I think maybe a bit more than that. And so basically afterwards, I said to my husband, all my pain is gone. This is absolutely wonderful. So we got in the car to travel back to Maritzburg, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, all this had worn off. And I was in absolute agony. I had to go and lie on the back seat with my pillows, and I didn't know what to do with my husband. I was crying all the way home. I was in so much pain. So yeah, I know he's still continuing, and I know that he wants to help. And but this is basically what's happening. It's just a trial and error almost thing where the doctors are trying to find things that work, but they don't actually know what's causing it. So it's almost like they're grappling at straws.
And so you are almost like a guinea pig.
Absolutely.
Of let's try this. Oh, it didn't work. But you are left with the residue.
Yeah. So at the moment I'm at the stage now that I've got to try and find, nothing's happening in South Africa. So I've got to try and find in England or America or Canada where they are doing research, if there's anything that can help.
Okay, so we're going to appeal now to the listeners out there. If you should know of specialists in the field, particularly of fibromyalgia, to please contact us so that we can put Sharl in contact with these professionals and hopefully can get some kind of relief from living with pain 24/7. And as I've said before, you can either make a comment in Facebook, and we will make sure that we're on top of that, or drop an email, my email address I gave at the beginning, so that we can, instead of Sharl feeling so alone and actually very isolated, and I would imagine quite abandoned.
Absolutely.
That maybe one of you guys out there have got some information that could help, and we would so appreciate any contact that you make with us. So sorry, I just had to put that out there so that hopefully we can get something going.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, I've got to try and do the research. The doctor in Hillcrest even said to me he would come with me overseas if I could find anything. But it's like I can, if I have a good day, maybe I can have an hour on the computer or sit with my iPad in the lounge. And then sometimes when I'm reading things, I don't quite make any sense. So I'm kind of like writing, but then I've got such bad tremors that I can't even read my own writing sometimes. So it's just a hard thing to live with.
Very debilitating.
Yeah, I think, and to be very honest with you, there's been 3 times in the 6 years where I've been very close to committing suicide.
Sure. What stopped you?
My faith.
Okay.
And because my best friend committed suicide and I saw what it did to everyone around her. And although it might be a good escape for me, it's not going to be one for my family. So that's off the cards.
Yeah.
I can't even go down that route.
Okay.
And I've got the most incredible mother that she just looks in my eyes and she says, it's a bad day today.
And does she live close to you?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
So, and my sisters are great help, even though they're very busy themselves. My husband is incredible. Although he's not, I get the emotional side from my mom because he's not, but he's the doer.
The physical.
He's like, if things need to get done, then they get done. And you need that. You really need that, because when you have this kind of thing, nothing gets done. Like I'll say, okay, today I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to go and clean my office. And I just can't. I might clean one drawer, and then everything's laying up all over. And so he'll go in and put it all back again because he knows that I'm not going to get to it in another month. So when I want to do things like that, I've got to say to him, okay, this weekend, Russell, we've got to do this. We've got to clean this or do this. And
then do you do it together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and then I'll say to him, I can't manage anymore. Another thing with the fibromyalgia is that your balance goes, and your complete orientation. Like when he goes into a shop with me, he knows I'm going to come out that shop, and he knows I'm not going to know which way I've got to go, which way I've been already, and which way I need to go.
So it's direction as well as balance.
Yes.
Wow.
And he knows, like when he's got to walk with me, like on uneven floor, he knows he holds my hand because I just completely lose my balance. Whereas I've never been like that. So, and that is all related to fibromyalgia. So, when I go shopping, I take my mom with me, even though she's on a crutch or whatever, or her walker. I'll take my mom with me, or I'll take someone with me, so that because a lot of times I can't even drive. So long as I feel comfortable when there's someone, I feel so insecure when I'm by myself. So what I've done is almost like close my whole world around Hilton Village. So I make sure that my doctor's here. I make sure that a physio's here. A chiropractor is here. I've tried to. So my whole world is closed on me, because driving on the highway is the worst thing I could do, because I'm petrified, and it just causes a fibro flare. And I know when I get to that place, I'm going to start shaking so badly that I can't drive.
It's very, very, very debilitating.
Yeah, it really is. I might wake up feeling good, and then get in my car and I feel, today, all these things that I haven't done, I'm going to get them done. And because I pushed myself so hard, then the next 3 days I know that I'm in bed.
So just give us a little bit of an idea of what a fibro flare is.
Okay. A fibro flare, I've got to learn how to know when it's coming. You start feeling, with me, it starts in my jaw, or in my face.
Pain,
yes. And then slowly it goes over. It's like in your eyes, but it's like goes over your head, down your spine, into my hips. And then I start getting this incredible chest pain. It actually feels like I'm having a heart attack, or something's around my chest, squeezing my chest, so that it's even hard to breathe sometimes. And it's so sore that you can't breathe. Like I know I'm going to have a fibro flare tomorrow because my pain in my chest is from when I woke up this morning. It's getting worse. And then I know tomorrow's going to be bad, or later this evening my husband's going to have to give me an injection. And so I've learned now what my symptoms are to a major flare. But then all of a sudden I might have another symptom that I don't know about it, or something that I go out and I eat or drink that automatically puts me in a fibro flare. Straight away I'll say to Russell, you've got to get me home, or that my husband, you've got to get me home because just now I'm not going to be able to cope. So at the moment, my husband gives me Raison injections.
Okay, what are those?
They're an anti-inflammatory injection.
Okay.
So it's basically like a Voltaren injection.
Okay.
But it's, I think it's a little bit stronger. Sometimes I use it as a pain medication after you've had an operation. And then when I'm in such a bad fibro flare that I'm actually having a pain seizure, then he'll give me a pethidine injection.
So those again are really, they're heavy muties.
They are.
And does your when one is having a lot of medication, it can start affecting kidney and liver and all that.
Yeah.
Has yours been affected as far as you know?
I've got to go for checkups every 3 months.
Okay.
I go for checkups. My kidneys, my liver. Since I've had fibromyalgia, I've had to have a hysterectomy because my menstrual cycle got so bad that not only the pain was excruciating, and it would put me in a fibro flare.
So that would be once a month. You knew you were going to have a fibro flare.
Absolutely, and it lasted for over a week. So my gynecologist eventually just said, Charlie, you're over 50. Let's just have the hysterectomy, but left my ovaries. So now I still have the ovarian pain once a month, which is a bit heightened because of my fibro, but it doesn't let me go into a fibro flare.
Okay. So how often now? Obviously, I understand that it's linked to what you're doing, but in the space of a month, or how many flares are you likely to have?
At least 3.
Sure. So that's like one a week.
Yeah.
And then it takes you how long to?
I'm never really out of it. Just the pain gets a bit less.
Okay. So you're kind of getting over one,
yeah,
and then you go straight into the next one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So to be honest, I don't know if I would know what a painless life would be like anymore.
Sure, that's a huge thing because pain is exhausting.
It is extreme.
And then on top of it, you're not sleeping sometimes, so you're tired the next day, and then you're going to have to cope with the pain again, and you know that is going to happen every day.
Yeah.
It's just similar to like if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about a problem that you have, it always seems far worse at night.
Yeah.
So you having that, plus the next day, you're not going to wake up and it's all going to be gone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how do you, I know you said you keep going with your faith, but on a more practical level, are there certain physical things that you do that help with your pain?
Well, a lot of doctors say you have to do exercise. Oof. But when you're in a fibro flare, we've got a treadmill. When I'm in a fibro flare, there's no way you're going to get me on that treadmill. When I'm not in so much pain, then I try walk. If I can't go out and walk in the fresh air, then I will walk on the treadmill. But then I'll do 10 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on what my body can take. I don't know. Sometimes I can do 30 minutes. but then afterwards I'm sore. I'm worse in a worse situation. So, what I try to do is when I'm feeling better, I try to do those things, those girly things that make you feel better. Maybe I'll go and have my hair washed and blow dried or a treatment. I'll go and have my nails done or have a facial, just to give myself a kind of a little bit of a treat and
just
an
nurturing.
out. Yeah. If I can drive there, because I can't keep saying to my mom or my sister, can you drop me here? Can you drop me there? Because you feel like such a burden.
And I think that's a really important part of any one of these
Yes,
illnesses
absolutely.
is because people don't think you're sick, and our families do know.
Yes.
And obviously our husbands and our children, they do know.
But even with them,
even though
guilty.
they know, yes, you don't want to be, because you think, they've got so much already that they're doing, how can I add to that?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it makes your life even smaller.
Absolutely. Because even with people that are close to you, you still feel guilty. I mean, I feel guilty that I'm not earning income anymore. I feel guilty when I try to lie there and I try to sleep, but my pain is getting worse and worse. So I've got to try and get out the room with my pillows and my iPad and medication that I maybe be able to take or not wake my husband up. And most of the time I do, because the door creaks when I'm trying to close it, or he can hear the television, or so I'm disturbing his sleep, and I feel guilty about that. And because I'm alone all day, then when he gets home, I want him to talk to me, and he's exhausted, because he's had to get home and cook and feed the dogs, and so by 7 o'clock he's exhausted, and I just want to talk to him or just have some kind of communication. So it's a really, really lonely. It really is lonely. Often my mom just picks me up and she just says, "Come, you lie on my couch, so long as we can talk and you're there with me."
Are there any support groups, particularly for fibromyalgia?
There's quite a few. I'm on one at the moment. I was on another one, but you've also got to. I don't want to be a victim, and I don't like a victim mentality. And when you get people talking about they're going to have certificates put on their walls to have, I have fibromyalgia, that doesn't go down well with me. So there's quite a few of them that I've disconnected myself from. I can understand where they're at, and I can understand that you want to say to so many people, I am in pain, I can understand the frustration, but I'm not prepared to accept that there's nothing that I can do.
And so, Sharl, are those support groups online, or
Yes, they're all online,
so that you can come and go as you please?
Yes.
It's not that you've got to make a certain meeting and it's face-to-face kind of stuff.
No.
And are they local?
No, there are some. There aren't any local around me. Some of them are like PE in Cape Town, that they've started a Facebook. A lot of them are on Facebook.
Yeah.
So they've started a Facebook, and then what they do is they will only accept people who have fibromyalgia, and all their support group to come on. So you've got one admin person that allows you on or doesn't allow you on.
So it's a closed group.
Yeah. I'm on one at the moment that is more giving information. Not so much, I've got this, and like it's, I woke up this morning with this, does anyone else have it? And, then there's all
so
this.
it's much more proactive, it sounds.
Yeah. So, so I'm on one that comes up with all different, read up on this research is happening, or things that come up of encouragement, like Fibro and Faith. I'm on one, and it's encouraging, So I'm more on those ones that are, and every now and then something will come through and they'll say, please keep this lady in your thoughts because this and this and this is happening or whatever. And that is fine. But mainly it's proactive.
Yeah.
It's
that's really good.
Trying to, my biggest thing is that in South Africa, even if they're not doing research, they've got to start equipping their nursing staff in the hospitals and how to treat people with that with all these kind of unseen diagnoses. Because I will be admitted with a pain seizure, then when the pain seizure stops, then they just want to say, okay, get out now. And then there's doctors that say, I don't have time to treat you. Specialists have said that to me. And I just think there's such a lack of understanding. And, the nurses will come to me and say, you've got fibromyalgia, please tell me what it is. And then I'll tell them, and they'll go, oh, I've never heard of this. And,
it makes a difficult situation even more difficult because you're having to explain what you're wanting. Is you're wanting the nurses or the doctors just to treat you with kindness and compassion, and also obviously with knowledge if they've got it. But there's a big silence surrounding all these illnesses.
It is, when I'll call the nurse and I'll say, I'm really in so much pain, and she'll say, but you've had your Panado drip, and I can't give you anything for another 6 hours, and you're going, oh my word, what am I going to do?
So there's no understanding of the intensity of your pain either.
Absolutely.
So Sharl, what has the last 6 years taught you? Because I mean it's a huge mountain that you're climbing.
It is. Basically, I can't say it's taught me anything other than to tell women out there that are heading down this path, that are not taking time for themselves, that are not taking time out, that surround themselves by stress all the time, to please listen to your body. I didn't. And everyone that I can, there's a lot of people or women that I know that do this to themselves. And I just say to them, please, you don't want this. You just really don't want this. Just take time out. Even if you go to Brookdale for 3, I know it's quite expensive, but go to Brookdale for 3 days, or go down to the beach, hire a cottage, go for 3 days, 4 days, go and have a manicure, go and have a whole morning treatment. Just get out of the rut of just work, take it home, more work.
More pressure, more stress.
Absolutely.
And with the autoimmune diseases generally, more women are affected by it. And I think it's because our role in life is, even if we are working, we still have the family and our children, and so we have kind of a double load. And I think our husbands, we've got very enlightened husbands, because my husband also does a lot of the cooking, mainly because it's his passion. But we're living in a society where our men will be able to do that, whereas like in our parents' group, my father, I don't think he can even actually boil an egg.
Yes.
And so that puts even more pressure on us, more demands on us.
I remember the favorite thing my mom used to say to us, she used to say, Charlene, like if I'd say to her, or my husband, I want to kill him, and she would say, Charlene, go and do your hair, put some makeup on, so when your husband comes home, you look fine and you look good. And well, she now knows not to say that to me because even the smallest things, some days, to just as I say, showering is the hardest thing I have to do.
So for you to get here this morning, and for those listeners who are not with us live, we started our interview at 8 o'clock this morning, so it was quite early. So how much effort did it take, and when did you have to start getting ready?
I had to start getting ready at 5:45.
Yo.
Yeah, so it took a long time.
So that's about 2 hours.
Yeah, and my family know that they can't just come to me and say at 12:30 we're going to lunch at 1:00 or 12:00 evening. They know they've got to give me 2 hours, because, and it's not that I've got this to do or that.
No.
It's just the stress.
Okay.
It's just that if you put that stress on me, that I've got a short time to do something, I fall apart. I cannot handle stress anymore.
So you've lost that ability that
Yes.
actually was one of your supposedly
Strengths.
huge strengths.
Yeah.
So those are the people who feel that they cope well with stress. They're the ones in danger.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I used to cope with stress very well. I cannot at all anymore. Not at all. Even if my husband, like we were going to the doctor in Hillcrest and there was an accident on the highway and we were running late, I was I actually went into a pain seizure.
Because of the stress of that?
Yes.
Wow.
If somebody tells me they're going to pick me up at a certain time and they're not there, then I start getting anxious and it turns into stress, and then I fall apart. The smallest little things.
So in other words, you've got to really protect yourself from all sorts of things that other people just take for granted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what it's taught me. Is I've actually got to put these boundaries up with myself and with the people around me, so that they know what my triggers are. Not only me.
Yeah.
They've got to know. I think that's about the biggest thing, and to try and educate people.
And it's interesting that you should say that. In an interview I did a while ago with a university friend of mine who has Parkinson's, and she said, the information in South Africa is so limited. The support groups is very limited. And one of her things is to also to get more knowledge and get people out there knowing more about what it is.
Yeah.
And so at the moment she's actually doing the part of the Camino, the walk in Spain. The idea was to use her walk as a promotion for, even though I've got Parkinson's, and at the moment the medication is pretty much controlling most of her symptoms, not all of them. But she's doing this walk and her one leg is the thing that's really badly affected. So in order to try and say to people, here I am, I've got Parkinson's, but I'm trying to make a difference, which I think is amazing. And that's really what a lot of these videos we're hoping to do, is to allow people to speak about the difficulties and the reality.
Yeah.
And not putting on a front of, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
When
That's a good word.
When underneath it you really are. And because we can't really afford, when people say, how are you? Very few people are really saying, how are you?
Yes.
And if you do start saying, they don't even listen.
No,
so it's a total waste of time.
No, absolutely. And I think also the biggest thing people have to realize is that there's different degrees of these pain, of these diseases or illnesses. Like fibromyalgia, some people only get affected in the top part of their body. Some people only get affected in the bottom part of their body. Some people, it might just be their arms. As I said earlier, some medication works for some people and some medication works for others. So you'll find people saying, oh, but I met a person with fibromyalgia the other day and she's managing to do the park run.
So what's wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
My goal is to do the park run, even if I walk it, but my goal is to do that. But I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And you can't put people with all these illnesses, these unseen illnesses, in a box, because they are so different and they affect people in different. The people that have them are so, they just are affected differently.
Even though it's the same disease.
Same disease, yeah. But then also just clarify, just make sure that it is, if you are diagnosed with fibromyalgia, just please go and make sure that it is fibromyalgia and it's not just a doctor that doesn't know how to diagnose you and he's just giving you a label. Make sure that it's not one of these treatable immune illnesses. Because since I've had fibromyalgia, when I've never heard of it in my life, I cannot believe how many people I'm coming in. They say, oh, they've heard of that person. Oh, they've heard of that person. I'm going, okay. So it's
out there.
It is.
It's out there. It's big.
Yeah.
And I do think it is in the people that I know that suffer from it. It has, in most cases, it's been catalyzed by stress. Whether it's chronic stress like you were having, daily stress, or in the case of one lady who also lives here in Hilton, her grandson died. Yeah. And she said within, I think it was 6 months, it certainly wasn't longer than a year, she started with fibrom. And you can see, like when you move, I can see you in pain, and likewise for her. It's an all body.
You can even if you have an accident, you can develop it. If you had in a bad accident, and they are trying to find. They think it could also be genetic. So they're looking for the genetic markers. So they haven't been able to absolutely pinpoint what causes it, but they've got it down to a small list.
So we need to have more money, more doctors working, more people involved, knowledge going out there, and so I would like to conclude the interview. Firstly, by just asking, is there anything else that you particularly want the viewers out there to know about, or words of wisdom, or do you think we've pretty much covered it?
I think kind of we very much covered it, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Since I've had fibromyalgia, there's been, I think, 3 requests from people at varsity wanting to do their thesis on fibromyalgia and autoimmune diseases. And if not in South Africa, there is in other parts of the world it has been recognized as a chronic illness. So when you get a doctor that tells you it's fibromyalgia isn't true, just know that it is. And
it's not all in your brain.
It's not all in your brain. It's something that might stem from your brain, but it's not a psychological thing. The pain causes psychological things, but the disease is not a psychological thing. And you don't need to be put in places like Oakland's and be treated psychologically.
Unless you're being supported because of the difficulty, but that's two different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of people go there for support to help them cope with the pain. Then I'd say absolutely fine, But going to dig up your past and dig up this, and you might even make it worse. A lot of my fibromyalgia, I've got very bad short-term memory from it. And my long-term memory has actually got quite bad. There's a lot of things that happened in my childhood that they say that could have contributed to me getting fibromyalgia, but somehow my brain has blocked those things off. So whether it's my faith that has blocked that off to protect me, or it is the illness that has blocked it off, I can't say. But things can trigger from when you are young and only manifest when you're older.
And all probably linked to the stress, the
Yes.
ability of your body to cope with stress.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's quite central?
I really, really do. I
Mm.
think from the fact that I used to be able to take as much stress as I did, to not being able to being stressed. If my maid says to me, we've got no washing powder, I instantly go into stress mode.
Mm.
I mean, it's ridiculous, you know. And so that is the one main thing that's happened in my life. I cannot take stress anymore, and I know that is a big major factor to my flares. Yeah.
So more so than when I thank other people for joining us for the interview, who can just pop into the shower and get here within 5 minutes. I really do thank you hugely, because I know it would have been something that took a long time to get yourself here. And I do hope that you don't have a flare-up as a result of this.
No.
Hopefully we can just think about maybe we're making a difference.
Yes,
and go along with that.
Yeah.
So I appeal again to the viewers out there, if you have any information you'd like to share, or particularly regarding specialists in the field of fibromyalgia, to please contact us, so that we can put Charlene in touch with these specialists and hopefully get some kind of improvement in not only in her life, but the life of your family and your friends, and that you're able to do the things that we all take for granted, which have been taken away from you now, that you can do them and do them knowing that you'll be okay-ish tomorrow.
Yes.
So so join us next week, where we have another interview with health as the topic. And in between times, as I say, please feel free to comment, send information, send ideas, whatever you think will help, or however you want to. As I said before, we're trying to blast open the silence that surrounds a lot of these silent illnesses. So anything that we'll be able to communicate about, or through, or around, we are very open to receiving all that information. And as always, I thank you, the viewers, for joining us today. I thank Charlene again, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.